Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Today I Want to Be, our career exploration interview. I'm really excited about our guest today. She is Miss September, aka Dr. Trenessa Williams. She is an African American literature bookstore owner, and she's actually going to be talking to us about what it is like being a bookstore owner. Now, if this is your first ever tuning in to the show, the purpose of this show is so that kids and youth and even adults, can have a better understanding of what individuals do in their career. Like the title says, career exploration. So, I was always that type of child, just wondering, like, what is it like to be X, Y, and Z? Or do I want to do that when I grow up? And so this is the opportunity for kids and youth to ask these professionals different questions to see if it's a career field that they are interested in going into. So now, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you go ahead and type your questions and your comments in the comment field, and I can ask those questions to Dr. Trenessa as well. Make sure you also share this video now so that more people will know about her bookstore called Kizzy's Books and More. And so also, people can just know about Today I Want to Be, because it's all about career exploration. We do have our calendars on sale right now. If you go right there to the description box, that is actually where the link is, Today I Want to Be /shop. So Dr. Williams, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hi. For those of y'all that don't know, I have a tendency of waving, so
You're a
I think
waiver.
I got all my waves out of the system now.
You're
How are
so
you all?
funny. We are doing great. We are doing great. So, can you just tell the viewers just a little bit more about yourself?
Oh, okay. I am Trenessa Williams. I am the owner of Kizzy's Books and More. Kizzy's Books and More is a books online bookstore. We're currently online, and we focus primarily on African American literature. Um, And I'm excited too because on September 19th, this marks the second year our 2 year anniversary for Kizzy's Books and More. So we've been in operations for about 2 years. I know some of you are probably like, why did Martinique call Trenessa Dr. Williams? I do have my doctorate. I have a doctorate of business administration with a specialization in entrepreneurship. So if you hear her call me doctor, that's the reason why I have a doctoral degree, and I'm a professor and I teach. But other than that, that's a little bit about me. I'm excited about telling you all and answering your questions about owning a bookstore, and I was just excited about participating in this awesome project that highlighted African American women in their chosen careers and how they were able to explain their career choice and what it took
Mhm.
for them to get to where they are today. So I'm just glad to be invited to participate and let other people know, hey, you can own a bookstore. You
Yeah.
know, that's you can put that on your radar, you know.
That's good. That's good. And so, how did you even become interested in becoming a bookstore owner?
Actually, being a bookstore owner has wasn't really on my radar or what I want to do.
Hmm.
But I was in grad school. I had just started. I had relocated to here to Orlando, and I wanted to purchase a book, and there was this bookstore named Monticello Books that was on Tampa Avenue. And so I went to that location, and then come to find out that that bookstore was not open. So this is like in 2008. It had been closed, and I didn't know that it's closed. And then I was like, man, we need a bookstore here. And I always, I like reading. So that
Hmm.
sparked my interest to wanting to become a bookstore owner. But, I didn't know exactly what the process was. So instead of just going ahead and opening up a bookstore, I decided to go that path where I did a lot of research to figure out and learn about the industry. And
Hmm.
then, and I connected with some great people to learn more about the pros and cons and to learn about what it's like in the lifestyle of a bookstore owner. And then my mom told me one day, she was like, hey, miss, it's sink or swim mode. You've been doing this for years. So what you want to do? And so I went and I decided to step out and put my toe in the waters. And that was in 2018. Was when I decided to, I know it's a whole 10-year process, but I decided to finally step out on faith and launch my bookstore.
But what are you saying? Because you said that you just wanted to do, you did the research. Are you saying that that's all you really wanted to do was just learn more about it?
No,
And
because
okay.
the thing is, as a owner of any store, and I tell my students, well, if you want to own a bookstore, I'm sorry, I say own a bookstore, but if you want to own a business in general, the best thing is to be knowledgeable about that and to look at to gain your resources to see if whether or not um, if that business is going to be feasible. Because, it sounds good in our thoughts, but, to research it, especially if you have no experience in the industry. And that's why that's just for my safety. I wanted to make
Mhm.
sure I knew exactly what I needed to do to be an owner of a bookstore. So that way, when I did open it, I had some knowledge on it. And, I was prepared for the unexpected instead of just going by blind faith and say, I'm just going to do this on a wing and a prayer. And, and it fell right on the spot because I knew nothing.
Mhm. Mhm. So now, why did you decide to solely focus on African American literature for your bookstore?
Okay, the reason why I decided to focus primarily on African American literature is because there are a lot of bookstores out there that sell books that are not written by non-African American authors. But when
Mhm.
it comes time for the selection of the books for that represent us, it's a small amount of books that are on the shelf.
Mhm.
So I was like, we need to have a place or somewhere where we can connect and those that love to read African American literature, no matter what their shade is, they can connect and share books. So my primary main goal is to have that place where lovers of African American literature can come together and discuss books that are written by us, because we have some amazing there's some amazing authors that of people of color, but there's not many places that focus primarily on our literature.
Hmm.
Because you can go anywhere and buy a book, but there's not really a lot of selection for us. Um,
So for people that don't know, because sometimes we may think, okay, well, this person has written a book, they can get into any store. Is it like that?
no, it's not. It's like you have to follow. There's procedures that you have to go through in regards to the selection of the books.
Hmm.
There's some that are self-published, but they go through different routes of how they publish their books. Like with myself or in general, I do have some books on my shelf on my site that are self-published, but how they are able to get on my site is through my distributor that does my supplier that supplies the books for me. They
Mm.
have an internet, they are work a connection with whoever those publishers are. But there is a process for in regards to how books are selected, especially if you are an independent publisher, because we review books. And if your books are great, we'll put them on the shelf. It depends on the process of what each bookstore have on there. I know I get quite a bit of people that ask about being putting books on my shelf at my store, but I'm strictly online. I don't have the space and the capacity at the house to hold books. So that's why I don't right now. I don't select. I don't I'm not accepting any independent authors that are solely selling their books, because I don't have anywhere to actually store them and to sell them and everything. But I do have some on my site though.
So are you saying that if we came to your house, we wouldn't just be seeing all these boxes of books everywhere?
No, but I do get in trouble because when I go to conferences and stuff, and
Uh,
I go into, like, how when people go into the candy store and they be like, books,
uh,
candy, and then like I got in trouble last year. I went to New York,
uh,
and you're gonna laugh at me, and I went to the expo up in New York, and then I
uh.
told myself I am going to not buy a lot of books. I shipped about 70 pounds of books home.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and then also too, I called myself. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this in my luggage, and I tried to, but then my luggage was like 100 pounds. I was like, how did it get there? I tried to
Uh-huh.
talk to the guy, and the guy was like, ma'am, pay that overcharge fee, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
really? You're not gonna turn the eye, but yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's how bad it is. Yeah, it's.
That's
I know
so
I need an
funny.
intervention.
A book intervention.
Yeah.
So now what do you feel like are the pros and cons of being a bookstore owner?
One of the pro definitely is that I get to talk about books, and I get to connect with other people that love to read. And then also too, I'm learning about books from other people. Yes, I love to read and I know books that are coming out, but then there are some people that have reached out. I'm like, hey Trenessa, have you read this book? And I was like, no. And then once they start to tell me about the book, I'm learning about books through other people, even though I own a bookstore and I know about some books that are out, but there are some that's like that are not there. But one of the challenges, a con is, the challenge is, bringing that awareness about the bookstore, because there's multiple different outlets, so that's kind of a challenge as it relates to with the owning of a bookstore is, bringing that awareness and communicating, let people know that the bookstore is awesome. Come on in and buy the book, because sometimes you'll get people that come to the store and they will say, you know I can get this at Amazon. Why am I buying here?
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things. Well, if they think about it this way, when you buy from a independent bookstore, you're supporting that person that owns that store and also the people that work for that business, and you're
Mhm.
supporting that local ecosystem, economic system.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things that you can look at, especially, yes, that book, you can get it probably cheaper at Amazon, but
Mhm.
actually, um, you're supporting a small business and contributing to the local economy. So that's one of the things that you can think of, especially when you purchase uh, from a small business in general.
Hmm. So now I know one of the things that we were about before the start of the show was
Hmm.
just the influx of customers that you have gotten in June, when we were having all of these, the George um, Floyd's case and things like that, all the racial tension that's been going on.
Hmm.
Why do you think that so many people are coming to your bookstore and black bookstores in general?
Because a lot of what I'm just speaking from my experience and what my thoughts are, because a lot of people with the current situation that's going on in the current environment, they find in themselves that they notice that their knowledge base was not, they lack knowledge in some areas.
Mm-hmm.
So they decided, especially when this trying times happen, is to become more informed about racial issues and the experience of African Americans. So one of the things, especially when they decided when they want to know exactly how this stuff, the social unrest, the injustice of everything
Mm-hmm.
in general, they wanted to know what's going on and how it's impacting us. They wanted to come directly to the source where they can find those materials and
Mm-hmm.
become more knowledgeable. So it was especially an influx. It's a blessing for the Black bookstore owners, because brought that awareness about the greatness of our stores and what we have to offer in our books and the literature that talks about the African American experience, and the authors that talk about the experience and those things that impact us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's and that's and you could and I saw a lot of people, especially when they would purchase books, they will give positive comments on their orders and talk
Mm-hmm.
about how this is awesome, how they wanted to support us, and also they're buying books to educate themselves on our life experiences and also about racism, because before this they didn't think anything about it until it gave them, it's like you have to pay attention, you have to be informed about this is what's impacting us.
Mm-hmm.
So and they wanted to get that information, you know.
Yeah. So now, is there any other time that you've seen like just a rush of customers purchase from your site?
I start Prior to that, I had a good flow of customers coming in. But then when people started to look for African American bookstores, that's when I had a huge influx of orders. And
Mm-hmm.
it was so much of a blessing, because I'm like, I have an awesome site, but then this really awesome business, this really brought attention to it. And people that didn't know about Kizzy's before. I had some followers on Facebook that
Mm-hmm.
knew of Kizzy's, but then once they found out that I was here, that was, and then once they found out what was the products, what I had, that
Mm-hmm.
brought them in and it kept them coming in. So it was a great way to introduce other people to stores that they didn't even know that there were Black owned bookstores around the country.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now, you speaking on having other black stores around the country, why would you take that risk to, establish your own black bookstore? And there's already other bookstores like that as well.
There's a need, and especially in the Orlando area, there
Mm-hmm.
isn't one that is here. Yes, I'm online right now, but even though with myself being an online store operating out of a city that's outside of Orlando, there still are people looking for um, African American bookstore that they can support that has the literature that they're looking for. Because I even get emails because I did an article last year saying that I had goals of opening up a bookstore in Paramore.
Mm-hmm.
So to this day, people have come across that article, and I get emails and I get phone calls asking, "Are you open up yet?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not open up yet. I'm still operating online." So
Mm-hmm.
there's that need because people are looking for that place. Um, that sells African American literature. And there's not many of us um, around the country. At first, there was like a little bit of a decline of Black owned bookstores, but now there's an increase uh, of quite a bit of us that own bookstores. I think I know Oprah did an article recently that spotlighted African American bookstores around the country,
Mm, that's
and
good.
we were listed on there.
That's
But
good.
it was a total of 125 books, African American bookstores across the country that were that had brick and mortars or they operated online as well that were
Mm-hmm.
listed on there. So we're spread it out across the country, and there's a need, and there's a lot of people that's looking for stores that have books that represents us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I know that we're talking quite a bit about, your bookstore being online. Do you think that bookstores will move towards being online because of sites like Amazon?
No, no, ma'am. I don't think so because
Mm-hmm.
even prior to, before Amazon became a thing, there were still some stores that had that business model that had that operated for that operated online for a while. So
Mm-hmm.
there are some bookstores, like I myself, I started off online because I wanted to bring that awareness, build that momentum a little bit before I
Mm-hmm.
had had my store open. But there are some that that will want to operate strictly online, but there's also some that's going to have that brick and mortar. But because of currently it's a little bit of a challenge because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So but other than that, they're still going to have. There's some businesses that did not have an online store component, but
Mm-hmm.
they've added that on since then.
Oh,
But
okay.
hmm
That makes sense.
yeah.
So now what are some of the things that you will have to do in order to get your physical location?
One of the things, besides getting my ducks in a row, making sure I have everything in line, which I already have, is
Mm-hmm.
I'm just watching the current condition to see how things are going to go because, COVID is kind of testing everything. Sometimes we can operate our business now, but then, there's some restrictions, mask restrictions, all of this other stuff, 6 feet apart. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at and weighing before I find a physical, get an actual site open. But besides that, one of the things is to secure a location and find a location that fits what um
He gonna eat
I'm
us.
sorry.
He gonna eat
It,
us. Your dog is gonna eat us.
no, no, did you hear Siggy?
Yeah,
He's right under me, and I was praying that you did not hear him.
it's
And I'm
okay.
sorry, I just cut my eyes real quick at him. I gave him the
I
look.
heard him. I heard him growl. He like, all right, wrap this up, mom.
I'm so embarrassed.
It's okay.
Oh,
You
okay,
have it
but
all.
but one of the things too, I want to make sure that I have the right location
Hmm.
and the right size because I have some amazing things planned for Kizzy's Books and More. So I want to make sure that the location that I get it fits the image and the brand because I want people to come in, be able to mingle, connect, and talk about books and have that whole eclectic ambiance that fits
Hmm.
the whole Kizzy's Books and More spirit. So it's a whole planning process. But right now, we're doing good online. So I'm gonna stay online for a little bit, but
Yeah.
the one thing that I still plan on doing is having a brick and mortar. And that's one thing that's not gonna lose because you're gonna see Kizzy's up in Orlando. You're gonna be like,
Hmm.
yeah, that's
I'm
Kizzy's.
ready.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
right in there cheesing like this.
You should. you something. Just as a business owner, though,
uh,
how do you keep yourself patient to not rush into, oh, I got to go get a store?
no, because the thing is with me, I guess because I teach entrepreneurship, and then also too, my parents instilled in me, um, it's either sink or swim mode. So they always said to make sure that you know, have information and you have a plan before you do something.
Okay.
And and one of the things is, I like to step out on faith on quite a bit of a lot of stuff, but especially with the business, I want to make sure that I know I have a knowledge base.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have plans for what it is that I want to do and how make sure that it's effectively done. Because with anything in general, you can have it planned all day, and obstacle is going to come, and it's going to test your plan. So you have to be able to weather it. So yes, I have a plan of what it is that I want to do, but there's always going to be something that's going to test it. And
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, let me back up a little bit, let me reevaluate and get it to where it is. So, the unexpected is a part of life, but
Yeah.
you just have to embrace it.
That's good. Embrace it. Oh,
Yeah,
girl.
I
Now that's
know.
the hard part. You be
Yeah,
like,
it
Jesus,
is because
you be like, Jesus, take
sometimes,
it away.
yeah, because sometimes it's like, man, what am I supposed to learn with this situation? But it's you have to be able to be adaptable, because that's part of it, especially with anything in life, whether you're owning a business, whether you're going through school, because you're working on something that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the unexpected is it's going to happen. And my motto is, and especially what I tell my students too, is the bigger the obstacle, the bigger the blessing is at the end. So
Mm-hmm.
what you're going to have to do is, it's going to be a hard obstacle, and there's going to be some challenges along the way. But once you pass that test and you jump over that hurdle, even though you might be not athletic like I am, so you go tumble over that hurdle
Mm-hmm.
and dust yourself off. But once you get to where that picture is, it's going to be something that you're going to be like, yep, I'm glad I weathered that storm, because
Mm-hmm.
this right here is amazing.
Yeah, definitely. So now I know that you did mention that your online bookstore is doing well, and a lot of people would just be content with that. Why do you feel it's even necessary for you to have a physical location?
Because it's part of the plan. You don't want to be somewhere where you're complacent. That's just with me. I don't want to be somewhere where you get comfortable, because when you
Mm-hmm.
get comfortable, there is no challenge. And then there is, when you get at a certain level and there's just nothing there, you get bored. So, but even with owning an online store, it's unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
But, brick and mortar, you get to interact with other people, and people are coming in, and you can discuss and connect with people. But yeah, so that's just with me. Yes, owning an online store is great, it's amazing, but part of my goal is to have that brick and mortar.
Mm.
So, and that's what I'm going to continue to work to have.
And you know what? It made me really think about, when you are on the path to pursuing your
Hmm.
goal, there may be things that, happy times, but I just feel like with you, yes, my online store is doing well, but I had not reached my goal yet. My
Hmm.
goal is
Yeah, don't you
ultimately.
can't get too comfortable. So
Mhm,
you have to be able to adapt, and you have to be able to challenge yourself. Yes, you have online store, but also too, you have to keep in plan, like, okay, yes, we're doing good, but how can we reach more people to bring them in,
mhm,
or what can we do to keep that momentum, to also keep people coming in. They'll discover you, but how do you keep them coming you
coming
know
back. Yeah. So now, what are three things that you wish somebody would have told you before becoming a bookstore owner?
Well, to be honest, I never thought that this was never one of my career paths. If you would have asked me while I was in high school, I was in New York, a fashion buyer. so,
Mm.
doing fashion. So that was never
Yeah.
even teaching, even being a professor and having my level of education, that was not on my radar. So
Uh-huh.
so it's so even you're gonna laugh and giggle. Like my uncle told me one time, um, he like I had just finished with my MBA, and he was like, "Miss, you're gonna get your doctorate." I was like, "I just went through the trenches for this
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
MBA, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
go for another degree." And he's like, "Yes, you are." I was like, "No, I'm not." And
Mm-hmm.
then so sure enough, it's like he spoke it into existence. So one of the things that I some people I probably would have told me what I know now is, there's going to be some challenges. Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
have your plan of what you want to do, of what you might have expectations that you set forth and what you would like to accomplish within X amount of time. But to be patient, because yes, you might have this goal, but it might not happen when you want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, like sometimes I set stuff up. I'm a writer, so whatever it is that I want to do or my goals, I always write it down, and I'm like, I'm gonna have X, Y, and Z done and blah 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 blah. And this is my excuse me, this is my goal that I want to have. Well, life happens and you never know. And then like sometimes I sit back and I'm like, man, I wrote this down when I was in Coleman Library. And this is
Mm-hmm.
one of my goals that I had, but it was like a couple years later. So one of the three things that I wish somebody would have told me now, Trenessa, you would not be living in New York. So
Mm-hmm.
that way.
Uh,
um, Another thing is too is that you know you're gonna have challenges, so just to keep moving forward, because some of the challenges that I had going through this process, I did not expect it. So just if somebody would just sit down and just I expect to embrace the unexpected.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that could be that embrace the unexpected, that could be counted three times because you know everything happens throughout the different things. So expect the unexpected, embrace the challenges. um you know um there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. So in general, that's one of the things, especially for any of my students that's out here listening. It's okay to make changes throughout, because as life we evolve. So what we were like 5 years ago was what we're not like that now.
Mm-hmm.
So embrace those changes, um, and don't be afraid to be you. Be different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one things that sets you out um, against everyone else is your unique quality. Um, and that is your competitive advantage. You see, I threw in a business term, but
Mm-hmm.
that's something that's your unique value that is going to set you apart from everybody else, is that one thing that makes you unique, and that makes because I tell my students to um, that everything in life is not black and white. It could be, it's plaid and it's as flowers. So it's different. So embrace that different, that the uniqueness.
How can you talk to students about we know that you actually write down your plan.
Hmm.
Talk to our students about just being flexible to sometimes having to go back and change your plan.
It's
Because and
like
I'm asking this because you you do a lot. You're a professor, you have your online bookstore. So like how did you
Yeah, I'm all over the border, to be honest. It's like my attention span, you probably noticed because you talked to me personally, my attention span is like squirrel. And I'm like, what? But, but, one of the things that with me, I write down some stuff too. And also, I'm a visual person. So
Mhm.
I visualize some things that I want to happen, or what it is that I would like to do. And I write it down. So sometimes, even if it's 5 years, um, couple years from now, um, in general, you can write down some of the things, it might change, but what are the things that you would like to aspire to be? It could be three different things, three different careers, and then once you go through that and you look at it and be like, yes, I wrote down I want to be a lawyer, but do I really want to work with these people?
Mm-hmm.
Those type of things, or different things. Find what makes you. I tell people, especially when people talk about what it is that they would like to do, I said, find what makes you happy and
Mm-hmm.
embrace that. Because Martinique, what you're doing, that's something amazing. You're talking to people and you're getting people to talk about their passion.
Mm-hmm.
You see, this is something that makes you happy and you're following that, your path. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that with the students is that what we can have them do is to follow their path and to get what makes them happy. If you want to draw, take a class that'll help you with perfecting your artistic ability. So that way you can be able to express that drawing in various different forms, whether it's through chalk, um, charcoal, watercolor. You get what I'm saying.
Online.
I'm almost
Uh-huh.
over.
Uh-huh.
But
Mm-hmm.
so that's one of the things. If you see that this is something that you would like to do, write it down and do that. Go through that discovery phase. Like just by listening to your interviews each month, because they're going to be able to discover different career paths that people have gone, and then they'll be able to find out that journey of what people have gone through that career path. Um, so that's one of the things too. And then especially what helped me is, like, my family, they knew I was different, so they embraced what it is that I wanted to do. So when I wanted to do fashion in high school,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did. I did stuff that helped me with, I couldn't draw, but I did stuff that helped me with being able to express my creativity.
Mm-hmm.
I participated in DECA. I did fashion classes and stuff like that to learn about different types of fashion. But and my parents were there along the way. So I called, my
Good.
dad was my financial sponsor for my art expressions. So every time I had a project, I said, "Hey, we got to go to the store and
Mm-hmm.
buy some supplies." So whenever you all are, I feel like I'm rambling. Am I rambling?
No, no, go ahead.
Okay. But whatever it is that you all want to do, whatever sparks your curiosity, write about it. Do some, um, look at some videos to see what you can learn about it. To see if whether you might have to be able to go out and volunteer and try it to
Mm.
see if that really fits. And that's where you can learn in that discovery. Like, okay, well, I said I wanted to be a cook, but I done burnt up 3 pots of rice.
All right.
So, so that's one of the things that you can do, is and understand that throughout your life process, there's that time where you can go through that discovery phase to
Mm-hmm.
where you can find where's that perfect fit for you.
That's good. So I know that you mentioned your family being supportive, um,
Hmm.
but unfortunately, not everybody has that. Can you talk to our students about how to stay motivated when they
Uh-huh.
don't have that family or friends supporting their
You,
dreams?
in life in general, you're going to have some people that's going to be negative. They're going to say, they're going to hear what it is that you want to do, and they're going to tell you, no, you can't do that. Why you want to do that? They're going to give you that face too. Why you want to do that? And
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. If it's something that you want to do, go ahead and follow that. But then also, surround yourself with people, even though it might not be family members, but surround yourself with people that are like minded, meaning that they have that same type of creative, whatever it is that you want to do, they still have that like mindedness that you have, so that
Mm-hmm.
way even they'll be going along with you on that process. And even to get a mentor. Say you want to be a veterinarian,
Mm-hmm.
see if you can get a veterinarian so that way you can pick their brain about what it is that they did, and they can help coach you and to prepare you and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in life in general, there are going to be negative. That's part of life. You're going to have negative people. So, but just keep doing what you want, what you're doing, and follow. what it is that you want to do, because in all, at the end, it's your life and you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
You need to be happy. You don't want to do something that is going to have you feeling negative.
So now let's act like we have a child that's watching the
Okay.
show,
Okay.
and they have all these books, and they're like, "Man, I think I want to start my own bookstore." Do you
Okay.
think a child could start their own bookstore?
Yeah. Yeah. A child can. So what
Uh-huh.
I will say for you to do, especially if you want to own your own bookstore, is to start reading. Like, what is it that you would need to do to start doing research? Um, look at, okay, these are the steps that I need to do. Connect with other people that's what I did. I joined an organization that's part of the industry as a prospective member, a provisional member, meaning I had thoughts of becoming one, but wasn't really one. And I was able to connect with other bookstore owners and pick their brain, and they were able to drop some serious knowledge about what their challenges were, and how they, to go through that process. So one of the things that I would say to my aspiring bookstore owners is to learn about the industry, and see what it is that you would like to do, and also research to see if what the need is and what the opportunity is, and build around it. Because owning a bookstore is so great and it's so amazing. Um, but make sure you have a little bit of knowledge about what's going on, and surround yourself with people that, even if you don't know, that you can go to that person and ask them questions.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what helped me quite a bit, is that um, I was able to connect with some amazing booksellers that
Uh-huh.
have been in the industry for a long time, and they weren't afraid to say, "Hey, Trenessa, this is what's going on. This is what challenges I had in the industry. This is what blah 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 blah. This is what," and then I can say, "Okay, well, this is what is happening. What are your thoughts on this?" Or, "This is what um, my ideas are." And I was able to bounce some stuff off of with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they connect you with, you'll be able to connect with other people as well. So one of the things that I would say for my aspiring books sellers is to connect with them and to get someone that knows about the bookstore, so that way you can pick their brain to
Mm-hmm.
find out what is it that you would need to own your bookstore, and what are the steps in the process, so that way you can
Mm-hmm.
take that dream and bring that into reality, and so that way it can be great and be awesome. You might just want to just have a comic book store and
Mm-hmm.
sell comics, and comics are great, if that's one of the things that you can, if you want to do. But that's what I would tell my my aspiring books sellers.
That's good. That's good. Well, thank you so much for that. If you are interested in connecting with Dr. Williams, or just visiting her bookstore, her information is listed in that description box. So now, if you are a professional and you're watching this show, you too can be featured in our calendar and our other products as well. We're always looking for this, well, 2022, we're looking for Hispanic women, Black men, and Black women, because we will be adding on Hispanic women for 2022. So if you're interested, make sure that you go ahead and fill out that information. That link is listed in the description box. If you are interested in becoming a co-host and interviewing our professionals, and make sure you go to that description box, because that link is there as well. Another thing, make sure you continue to share this video so that more people will know about Kizzy's Books and More, and about Dr. Williams, and about the show. If you're interested in purchasing your 2021 calendar, we did add on Black men, so you can always visit www.todayiwant, the number 2b.com/shop. Dr. Williams, I thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. And I hope that you guys have a great remainder of the night. Take care.